Hello everyone. Got some more updates today. More's coming out about the book that Chris Watts is the lady show in Cadle. They had an agreement. She was going to write the book. There's been more released today about it, so I'm going to go over some of that. It says Chris Watts still loves Nicole Kessinger. That's what he says. He still loves his mistress and wanted to be with her so much he slaughtered his family. But he laments that he would not be in prison if it was not for her. This is a quote from him. "If I had not met Nikki, I would have never killed my family." He was mesmerized by her. She showed him respect that he didn't feel like he'd ever been shown before. Watts also claims to still love Nicole, the mistress he met at work and had been seeing for 2 months when he decided to murder his pregnant wife and 2 daughters, Bella 4 and Celeste 3, so that he could be with her. He was so enamored with Nicole, he even tried to cause Shanann to miscarry their son Nico by giving her the powerful painkiller oxycodone, after Nicole told Watts she wanted to be the one to give him his first son. Christopher says he loved her like he has never loved anyone else before. At the same time, he loves Shanann, although he knows that she was not his soulmate and not the person he was supposed to be with. Watts is wondering about where Nicole is, and told Cadle he has received some letters and postcards signed with different names and wonders if they might be from the woman he still does call his soulmate, Nicole Kessinger. Watts, 34, confessed his deepest feelings to Cadle, a 65-year-old grandmother from Illinois, who wrote him a letter earlier this year asking if he would take part in a book to put to rest any lingering questions about the case. To her surprise, he agreed. The book, Letters from Christopher, is on pre-order and will be published October 7th. Wow. After the murders, Watts told Cadle, all I could feel was now I was free to be with Nikki. Feelings of my love for her was overcoming me. I felt no remorse. The darkness inside of me had won. It was still in me, though. I thought maybe permanently. I felt evil, swallowed up by this thing inside of me. I felt like I could kill anything and be justified for doing it. Kayla later wrote, after Christopher killed his family and drove away, Nikki texted him to look up the song by Metallica band called Battery. I challenge you to look up the full lyrics of this song. I find it interesting that we should believe it's only a coincidence. As part of her research, Cadle spent 15 hours meeting face-to-face with Watts in prison, had phone calls 3 times a week, and exchanged dozens of letters. Cadle is unsure why he responded to her amid dozens of interview requests and the hundreds of letters he receives. I think he responded because I felt like, even though it was such a heinous crime, that he could still be used in prison to help other people. It was clear that he felt the same way. So I think when I wrote that, maybe no one else had said that to him. Watts agreed to allow Cadle to use his letters in exchange for publishing his testimony of coming to God and the forgiveness he has received. The agreement was he would take no money for himself or his family, she said. Last November, Watts was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole after pleading guilty to avoid the death penalty. In August 2018, he strangled his pregnant wife Shanann in their bed at their home in Frederick, Colorado, also causing the death of his unborn son Nico. He then drove his daughters Bella 4 and Celeste 3 to a remote oil field where he worked and smothered them in their blankets before squeezing their bodies through an 8-inch hatch and dropping them into the oil. I couldn't believe how easily it was just to let her drop through the hole and let her go. I heard the splash as she hit the oil, he said of Celeste. He then relived for Cadle in appalling detail how he killed his eldest daughter, Bella, after she had watched him murder and dispose of her baby sister. He spoke of his surprise that little quiet Bella had a will to live. Some of this is stuff I read to you yesterday, so I'm going to try to find new information to pass along to you today. So I guess until the book comes out, they'll be releasing stuff every day to entice people to buy the book. The judge in the case called it the most inhumane and vicious crime he had seen out of the thousands of cases that he had ever seen. Christopher asked his mother to call Cadle and let her know that he was interested in doing the book and would like to talk to her. He told me secrets that he had held. When the FBI came to see him in February, he didn't know they were coming and felt surprised and disgruntled over that. His story that he gave at that time is true for the most part. There were just more specifics of how the murders took place and some of the things that he did. After a few more letters and a prison background check, Cadle made the drive to Dodge Correctional Institute in Waupun, Wisconsin to meet him. She went into the prison alone. It was intimidating. It's a thorough screening. You can't even have metal hooks in your clothing. My hand was stamped and I went through 7 locked security doors before I got to where Christopher was being held. Each time you are in a short hallway and the last door clicks behind you. Their first face-to-face meeting was conducted via video screen because Watts was still in solitary confinement. The other prisoners were yelling and mad because they had to be locked down in their cells while guards brought him through the hallways. He was handcuffed to the table and his feet were shackled. It seemed sad with so much security in the prison. They still considered him very much a threat. The next 2 visits took place in the general visiting hall. Alongside other families, the room is lined with vending machines, and Cadle had brought $20 in change in quarters, the maximum allowed. I bought him a cheeseburger, a bag of potato chips, 2 Mountain Dews, and a candy bar. It's a taste outside of prison food. Yeah, he deserves that. Watts' shackles were removed in the main visitor hall, and Cadle was able to give him a hug when he entered. He was then ordered to stay in his chair and no other physical contact is allowed. When she finally met Watts in person, she was taken aback. He was more boyish and friendly than I had expected. He had shaved his facial hair, so he looked different. The voice was like I had heard on TV. It's a kind voice, actually. Cadle was perturbed by the fact that Watts was unable to make eye contact as they spoke. I finally said, "Why can't you look at me when you talk to me?" He replied, "I have always been that way. It's not because of you." They talked about what life was like for him in a high-security prison. In solitary, he was locked up 23 hours a day. It's a small cell and not air conditioning, Cadle said. He doesn't deserve air conditioning. Wow. He came from an almost palatial, and now he's confined to this little cell. He has absolutely nothing. As security was slightly relaxed, Watts gained more privileges. He can go to a day room for a few hours, maybe watch TV. He's picked up playing chess. At Dodge Correctional Institute, Watts has his own cell in a wing of around 17 inmates with special needs, close to the infirmary. It's a precaution that has been taken for his own safety, along with moving Watts out of a Colorado prison in the first place. So basically, he's in protective custody. He's allowed around other inmates, but they're also protective custody inmates. Christopher believes that if he's ever in general population, not around other protective custody inmates, he will have a very difficult time. And folks, even prisoners, they take it upon themselves. They don't like other inmates that have hurt women or children, so it's personal to other inmates as well. In Colorado, he was in fear for his life. He never saw another inmate, but they would scream at him all the time, telling him ways to kill himself. He was on suicide watch. He spent time in the hole. It's darker than in other parts of the prison, and there's no human connection. A guard would stand on the other side of the door, and he might have some conversation, depending on who it was. He told me that one guard prayed with him one night. He felt treated very badly during that time. I'm not sure what one would expect after murdering their family, but Christopher felt very much like it was a very difficult stay in Colorado. In Wisconsin, life is more agreeable for Watts. His parents have bought him a small prison regulation TV, and a friend has sent him a radio. He doesn't have many stations, but he gets a religious station that he said he likes to listen to a lot. He reads a lot, mainly Christian books and the Bibles. One of the first books he read in prison was a true crime book about different crimes. It intrigued me that he would read something like that. He receives a lot of letters. He's got a fan base, which is very odd to me. Cadle added, "I'm not Christopher's fan. My sole purpose was to write the book. But he does have many people who write him, and women who love him supposedly, and want him to write back. There are people that he corresponds with on a regular basis." Her overarching sense during their conversations was that he was at peace. He is unusually calm. Of course, he would rather not be in prison, but he is content, she said. She said that he talks about the amount of news stories that are written about him and finds it bizarre that the minute details of his life are being discussed when he is often oblivious. He was particularly surprised when a man, Trent Bolt, came forward claiming to have had an affair with him. He was also blindsided by Amanda McMahon, who claimed she met Watts on Tinder and acted out a rape fantasy with him. He denied both. He said he absolutely did not know them and had no dealings with either of them whatsoever. He never cheated on Shanann until Nikki. Cadle did not speak with them for her book, and she was unable to reach Kessinger, who is reportedly living under protective custody in a different state. She asked Watts if he had kept anything from the police about Kessinger's involvement. "I do not believe in my heart that Nikki knew he was going to murder his family. I think the only part she played is that she wanted him to leave Shanann and the girls, and she wanted him to do it yesterday." So she was very impatient about him leaving Shanann and the girls. Even though she said that she encouraged him to work things out with his wife when he was in North Carolina to finish up the holiday. During their conversations, Cadle observed a level of detachment over what he has done. He doesn't talk a lot about the girls. He talks more about Shanann. Sometimes he talks about them in the present tense and tells me that he loves them all very much. Not that I loved them, but I love them. I asked him to write me a letter and tell me a little bit about their life together because he didn't do that much in person. In one letter in her book, Watts writes to Shanann and his daughters directly. Cadle recalled that she had to point out to him that he had never once apologized for taking their lives. This letter was more about what it was doing to him that they were gone. It was almost like they had died in an accident instead of the fact that he had murdered them, she said. So he's not sorry for what he's done. He's sorry he got caught, and he's more upset over the fact that he's in prison and what their death has done to him and not what it has done to anyone else. He's very selfish. He only cares about himself. I said, you've never said you're sorry in any of these letters. I think the public is going to notice that. And I asked him, are you sorry that you killed them? He said, well, I'm sorry. I can put that in a letter and you can insert it into the other letters. He didn't realize. It's not that he didn't realize, he's just not sorry. It's my opinion. During the time she visited him in prison and on phone calls, Cadle tried to bring up the murders, but Watts was reticent to discuss them and was wary of being recorded. I think that has to stem from when he did the February interviews with the detectives. From my understanding, he didn't know that was going to be released, I guess, to the public on YouTube, and so now he's really wary about being recorded in any conversation. He's an introvert. Christopher told me it was hard for him to say things out loud, but he could write them in letters to me. In one letter, Watts made an appalling new confession, which he had not previously shared with the FBI. He claimed that he had made 2 attempts to smother his daughters, but that they woke up after his first try, bruised and traumatized, and were forced to watch him drag their mother's body to his truck. Watts also revealed that the murders were not committed in an outburst of rage, but that he had been plotting them for weeks. Cadle said that she was left deeply disturbed by the secrets he shared with her. Many nights I couldn't go to sleep. If I did sleep, I would dream about it. My heart has just hurt for those babies and Shanann. I believe that Christopher has told me the truth, and I believe that it will put the pieces of the puzzle together for people. I think it will give closure to his family if they will really read and absorb what he's trying to say in his letters. The Watts family helped her in the beginning by sharing stories and photos, but she began to question their motives. It turned into more of a Shanann bashing because Cindy does not believe that Christopher killed his daughters, Cadle said. She believes that Cece and Bella were killed by Shanann. Their entire motive has been to clear their son's name. I understand it would be very hard to admit that your son could do anything so awful. In the beginning, I felt it was out of their pain, but it didn't take long to see that they were trying to push the narrative of the book. When I wouldn't write what they wanted me to write, his mother became very angry with me. The more the author has learned about Watts' upbringing, the more unsettled she became. So it sounds like maybe there's his family history of mental illness, maybe. Cindy Watts told me that she always wanted to know what Christopher's thoughts were, that she would question Christopher all the time. What's on your mind? What are you thinking about? She would insist that he would tell her. Cindy also felt like he loved his father more than he loved her, and that bothered her. While she was writing her book, Cadle also reached out to Shanann's family, the Rucheks, but they declined to participate. She worries about what effect the book will have on them. I can't even begin to imagine what they still are going through, she said. I don't want to hurt them. I want them to know that my intentions are good. I want them to see that the book is in total respect of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. Unfortunately, they have not wanted to be a part of the book, so I do hate that they have not read it instead of being told. They will have to read it instead of being told. Included in the book is a letter that Watts wrote to the Ruseks asking for their forgiveness. They don't have any idea about that letter, Cadle said. I hope that the families can get closure, and maybe people will leave them alone and allow them to grieve in private. Cadle doesn't want the book to be misconstrued as support for Watts, and she has faced backlash for writing it. One thing that has been said is that I'm mothering Watts, but I don't want that to be misconstrued. I'm not trying to be a mother figure to him. I absolutely hate what he has done, and I don't condone it in any way, or to anyone else what he did. People that support Christopher, I've had backlash from them, and also from people that are very much for Shanann. I try not to put my opinion in the book. I just ask that before people judge it, read it. Then you can judge it if you want to. Shirlene said she has had comments online from people that doubt her letters are really from Watts. For anyone who doubts their veracity, she intends to put samples on display at her upcoming book signings. The letters coming out of the prison are not open. Christopher would write and seal them. They would be stamped over the top of the seal. That's how he could say whatever he needed to say, she said. Watts has not read an advance copy, but she intends to send him a book once it's published. Cadle says he still was very much in support of the book when he called from prison on Sunday evening. The football game was on when I was talking to him, so we talked about sports a little bit, but then he asked about the book and what stage it's at. He had been told the release date by his family. He knows there's some things in the book that he's not going to agree with. He has told his family that he wishes they would back out of the criticism and social media hate that has gone on and realize that he is very much for the book. I believe a part of that is because he wants his family to understand. I think he's tired of pretending. He just wants the story out for everyone to know, and maybe it will calm down. Cadle, who retired this year from her job in fundraising, said that her husband was bemused when she initially mentioned the book idea. I got the kind of look like, I'll support you, but I could tell he was thinking there's no way I was going into a prison. Cadle, who has 3 children and 11 grandchildren, said that her son and some of her grandsons have voiced concerns, but now that the book is due to be published, they are proud, and her family are her biggest supporters. Cadle said she has never felt in danger going into the prison or at risk from Watts, but she recently learned some new information that gave her pause. Christopher told me that he was warned about having addresses because other inmates will steal those if they can. There's such a lack of good cause of family and people who care about them, especially in the general population. Christopher's been told he needs to memorize them, so that's kind of scary. I don't want to be getting letters from criminals I don't know anything about. She is working a new book, a fictional romance, but is unsure if she will broach another true crime. I don't have plans right now. This one has affected me for a lifetime, she said. I can imagine it has. What do you guys think about the book? I'm sure that there'll be more released over the next days leading all the way up till October 7th, which the date it'll actually be released. And I guess there'll be the letter that he wrote to Shanann's parents asking for their forgiveness, and a letter he wrote asking, telling, his family he's sorry. I guess that's all I got for you guys today. If you want to be in my Facebook group, it's called True Crime Files. If you want to subscribe to my channel, like and share, that helps get me out there to other people. And nobody's really told me what day would be a good day to do a live for them. Any day is really good for me, so you guys just let me know. If you want to comment and maybe talk back and forth with me, we can exchange emails. I'm also going to be leaving a link today in the comments, and it's for a local family who's in need of paying their rent. It's a mother and 2 children, and it's we give all the time to people we don't even know, and I'm not asking you to give, but just take a look at it. I'm leaving a link. It's a GoFundMe .com account that I've set up to try to help these people out, and I've set a goal, and if we reach the goal, or when I reach the goal, I'm going to probably make a video with the post of the receipt showing everybody, hey, this is what we done and everything like that. But just take a look at it. You don't have to give. It's just at least consider. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you like my videos. I'm hoping you hear me better, and I love all your comments. And like I said, my Facebook page is True Crime Files. The cover photo is just a picture where it says True Crime. But I hope all you guys are having a good day. And you know, anytime you feel down, you know, I guess we all do. But when we read stuff like, you know, I've gone over with you guys the past couple of days, it really puts into perspective how good we really have it. And you know, if we all make some small contribution, in the end it will be a large contribution. So just remember that. And that's all I have today, guys. I hope your day is good, and I guess I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.